My boss's nephew was hired as my assistant, but he refused to work, laughing, "I'm basically your boss." When I called him out, he shrugged. "My family owns this company. You can't touch me." Days later, he begged for a job reference because his own uncle fired him after seeing my report. When my boss, Mr. Roberts, informed me that his nephew, Jake, would be joining our team as my assistant, I had mixed feelings. Our company, based in Chicago, had always valued professionalism and merit. Bringing family into the workplace could blur those lines, but I resolved to give Jake a fair chance. Jake's first day arrived, and he strolled into the office with an air of confidence that bordered on arrogance. He was in his early 20s, tall, with a lean build. His designer suit and flashy watch seemed more suited for a night out than a day at the office. His blonde hair was styled in a trendy undercut, and he had piercing blue eyes that seemed to assess everything with a hint of disdain. "Hey, I'm Jake," he said, offering a handshake that felt more obligatory than genuine. "Looks like we'll be working together. But, I'm basically your boss." I was taken aback by his audacity, but maintained my composure. "Welcome aboard, Jake. Let's get you started with some onboarding materials." From the outset, Jake's work ethic was concerning. He often arrived late, sometimes not showing up at all. When he did grace us with his presence, he seemed disengaged, spending more time on his phone than on work tasks. "Jake, I need you to compile the quarterly reports by tomorrow," I instructed one afternoon. He leaned back in his chair, a smirk playing on his lips. "Relax, man. My family owns this company. You can't touch me." This blatant disregard for authority and responsibility was unacceptable. I began documenting every instance of his tardiness, absenteeism, and insubordination. Each missed deadline and uncompleted task was noted meticulously. One evening, after Jake had left early yet again, I compiled all the evidence and drafted a comprehensive report detailing his behavior. With a deep breath, I sent it to Mr. Roberts, attaching all the documentation. The following morning, Mr. Roberts called me into his office. He looked weary, the lines on his face more pronounced than usual. "I've reviewed your report," he began, his voice heavy. "Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I'll handle it." True to his word, Mr. Roberts confronted Jake. Witnesses later recounted the heated exchange that ensued, culminating in Jake's termination. A few days later, as I was leaving the office, I spotted Jake lingering by the entrance. His once smug demeanor was replaced with desperation. "Hey," he called out, approaching me. I messed up. I need a job reference. Can you help me out?" I studied him for a moment, memories of his blatant disregard flashing through my mind. "Jake, references reflect one's work ethic and contributions. Given the circumstances, I can't provide a favorable one." His shoulders slumped, and he nodded slowly. "I understand." As he walked away, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of pity. But actions have consequences, and Jake had learned that lesson the hard way. Jake didn't leave town after that. I figured he would go back to his parents' house in the suburbs or move somewhere new where his last name might still open doors. But a week later, I spotted him again. This time, he was in the parking lot across from our building, sitting in a dented gray sedan that didn't look like his usual flashy style. I didn't say anything at first. Thought maybe he was just visiting someone nearby. But it kept happening. Every couple of days I'd see him, parked in the same spot, looking down at his phone, sometimes staring straight at the building. No one else seemed to notice. One day I stayed late, real late, trying to catch up on the reports that Jake never helped with. It was past 9 p.m. when I finally stepped out. That's when I saw him again. Same car. Same spot. Engine running this time. As I walked past, his window rolled down. "You got me fired," he said. His voice wasn't loud, but it was sharp. Calm. Too calm. "You got yourself fired," I replied. I didn't break stride. Just kept walking. "You think you're safe?" he called after me. "You think people in this company care about you?" I stopped. Turned back. They care more about the work than they do about someone who treats this place like a playground. He didn't say anything else. Just stared. I kept walking. Next day, weird things started happening at work. Minor stuff at first. My office door jammed, looked like someone had messed with the hinges. My emails weren't syncing properly. Then, one of the shared project folders I worked on disappeared overnight. IT couldn't trace who accessed it. I didn't connect the dots right away. Thought maybe it was a tech issue. Until I got a call from a recruiter about a job I never applied for, said they got my resume through an anonymous referral and that I was actively looking. I wasn't. The final straw was when Mr. Roberts pulled me into a meeting. He looked confused, almost disappointed. I heard from a few people you've been speaking negatively about the company, he said. That you're planning to leave and trying to recruit others. I was stunned. That's not true. Who said that? He shook his head. It's been brought up enough that I had to ask. I know your track record, but something's not adding up. That night I checked my LinkedIn. Someone had been sending messages from a fake account with my name. Messaging coworkers. Planting seeds. Jake. I couldn't prove it yet, but my gut told me it was him. He knew the systems. He'd watched me long enough to learn routines. He was trying to burn my reputation from the inside. The next day, I went to HR, laid out everything: dates, messages, the recruiter, the LinkedIn, even the weird tampering in my office. I asked them to start an internal audit. I also filed a police report, just in case. That same afternoon, I walked to the parking lot across the street. Jake was there. "You're making a mistake," I said through his window. He smiled. "No, you did. The day you wrote that report." His hands were resting calmly on the steering wheel. "You think you're some hero?" "I'm just returning the favor. You know they'll find out. All of it. You're not as invisible as you think." He laughed. "Doesn't matter. I already lit the match." He pulled away before I could say anything else. The taillights of his car disappeared into the traffic. Inside, HR had started digging. IT was tracing IP addresses. And me? I was stuck in the middle, watching the edges of my career catch fire. No one had ever tried to destroy me like this before. And I had no idea how far Jake was willing to go. 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number while I was making coffee in the break room. It was early, too early for a sales pitch, so I answered out of instinct. "Is this Marcus Reed?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, who's this?" "This is Detective Silva with the Chicago PD. We'd like you to come in for some questions related to a recent complaint filed in your name." My stomach dropped. "What kind of complaint?" "I can't discuss details over the phone. We just need you to come by." When I arrived, they were polite but serious. I was led to a small interview room. They showed me an email thread that had supposedly come from my work email, threatening language, inappropriate images, an entire exchange with a junior employee from another department. I didn't even know her. "Do you recognize these messages?" Detective Silva asked. "No, I didn't write any of that." "You're saying someone sent them pretending to be you?" "Yes, and I have reason to believe I know who." "Jake." The detective didn't say much after that. Took my statement, asked about my tech access, and let me go. But now, things weren't just professional. This was criminal. I went straight to IT at work and demanded they audit all outgoing emails from my address. To their credit, they took it seriously. Within hours, they confirmed that while the messages had my name and signature, they didn't originate from my work server. Someone had spoofed my email. They said it would take time to trace, but they'd get back to me. HR was already uneasy from the fake LinkedIn profile, the rumors, now this. It was starting to look like I was either losing control or being hunted. That same week, a box arrived at my apartment. No return address. Inside was a stack of printed screenshots, posts on message boards, emails, DMs. All fake, all supposedly from me. Some of them were vile. Some looked like angry rants against the company, others like personal attacks on coworkers. There was also a note, handwritten on a post-it stuck to the top. "You wanted war. Here's your war." No signature, but I didn't need one. I kept everything. Gave it to the detective. HR even sent a copy to Mr. Roberts. 2 days later, Roberts called me into his office. "I've been reviewing everything," he said quietly. IT confirmed the spoofing. HR traced the LinkedIn activity to an IP that doesn't match any of our employees, but it matches one used during Jake's brief time here. When he was on our Wi-Fi. I waited. My heart pounded so loud I could barely hear. He's crossed a line, Marcus. I've already involved our legal team. Then came the unexpected twist. We're pressing charges, Robert said. But I have to ask, how much do you want to be involved? What do you mean? We can either make this public, completely clean your name in front of the company, take him to court. Or we handle it quietly. No public statement, just legal follow-through. But the team won't know what really happened. Your name might still carry some of the shadows. I felt sick. I'd already been dragged through the mud. Whispers followed me in the halls. I'd had coworkers look away when I passed by. They didn't know what was real. And now I had to decide, clear my name publicly and ignite a storm, or disappear into silence and let justice happen quietly. I told him I needed time. The next day, Jake showed up again. This time, it was different. He wasn't parked across the street. He was inside the building. The front desk called me in a panic. He said he has a meeting with you. Refuses to leave. Security was already on their way when I got downstairs. Jake stood there, hands in his pockets, that same smug face back like nothing had happened. Like he still had cards to play. "You're really doing this?" he asked, eyes locked on mine. "You did this to yourself." He leaned in slightly, lowering his voice so only I could hear. "You think this is over?" Security grabbed him then. Pulled him back. He didn't resist. As the doors shut behind him, I realized something. Jake had nothing left to lose. And that made him dangerous. Jake didn't come back after that, at least not in person. But the fallout kept spreading. HR started rolling out mandatory security upgrades. IT did a full system sweep. Everyone in the company suddenly remembered how to whisper again, especially when I walked by. Some looked at me like a survivor. Others looked like they still weren't sure. Then came the meeting. Mr. Roberts called it a full staff meeting to address recent internal issues. No names were given, but everyone knew. He confirmed there had been sabotage, that some employees were targeted, that steps were being taken to ensure it would never happen again. He didn't say, "Jake." He didn't say, "Marcus." But the room was heavy with the truth. Afterwards, people started treating me differently. Warmer. A few came up and apologized. One even admitted she thought I was the one causing trouble and felt guilty now. I nodded, said it was fine. But inside, I was exhausted. Angry. Tired of being fine. 2 weeks later, I got the call from Detective Silva again. "We got him." Turns out Jake didn't stop at me. He'd been targeting other people too, old high school teachers, an ex-girlfriend, even his own cousin. All online. Same tactics. Fake accounts, false accusations, job sabotage. They'd tied it all together. His laptop was a goldmine. They arrested him in a Walmart parking lot. No dramatic chase. Just a silent end to a months-long mess. When I saw the mugshot online, something inside me finally let go of the constant tension. But I wasn't done. I went to court when the trial date came. Not because I had to. Because I needed to. Jake showed up in a wrinkled suit, hair no longer slick, face pale. The courtroom was quiet as the prosecutor laid everything out: emails, social media accounts, harassment, professional sabotage. My name came up often. When I took the stand, I told them what he did. Not just to my job, but to my sanity. I told them about the late nights watching my back. The fear of being framed for something worse. The rage that someone could try so hard to burn down your life just for calling out the truth. Jake didn't look at me once. They sentenced him to time. Not much, but enough. Community service, probation, therapy. Enough to stick. Enough to label him. Enough to follow him. After the trial, I stepped outside. Felt cold air hit my face and realized I hadn't really breathed in weeks. I should have felt victorious. I should have felt whole again. But the truth is, I wasn't perfect in this. I waited too long to speak up. I let things slide at first. I told myself it wasn't worth the trouble when it clearly was. And because I didn't act sooner, others got hurt too. I learned that looking the other way, thinking someone else will fix it, is a mistake. It doesn't make you noble. It just makes you next. So I stayed at the company a little longer. Enough to see things settle. Enough to mentor someone new the right way. Then I quit. Not out of fear. Not because Jake won. But because the place held too many ghosts. I started over somewhere smaller. Quieter. Built my name back from the ground up, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. My way. And now, when people talk about nepotism hires or toxic coworkers, I just smile and say, let me tell you a story.